Alright, in Dark Domains, we are competing to see who can be the most evil. And we have certain parties of adventurers that are coming after us. And our goal is just to gain the most evil tokens, which are represented by these skull icons here. Nothing else, and no resources or anything else at the end of the game is going to matter. Just these evil points. Now you are able to accumulate these evil points by being able to build buildings and turning them evil. Right here are the buildings, and I'll explain the board setup here in a little bit. Here's the monsters that can accumulate some evil points as well. Some spells here in these decks can give you some evil points, and some henchmen. So to gain all of these things that I just mentioned, you will need to gain resources to accumulate those, but at the end of the game, the evil tokens is the only thing that matters. And the necromancer cares not for gold or any trinkets or anything, but only the darkness of your heart. And so all the gold in the world will not buy his favor for you, but just the evil. And that's why only those points matter at the end of the game. So I have semi-set up the game, so you're going to place the building cards here with the stack here for the future. You're going to put 2 face-up henchmen cards, these locations. The spell decks here, these are the adventurers. You got 1 tavern with the 4 here that are in a party. The card that's over here on the left is going to be the leader. And then we have this other party where the leader is this card. These will move down, and I'll explain this because this is very important to the game. These are 2 henchmen cards that are face down. These are some monster tiles here that you will be able to buy. And then we have the fortune cards, which I am going to set up here. So what you're going to do is, these are the masquerade deck here. You're going to split them up. I'm going to deal out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to use the revelation deck with the world, and I'm going to shuffle these and use 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and add the world card to it, and shuffle these up. And then this is the decay deck. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, and then add the death card to it, and shuffle this up. Once the death card comes out, that's the end of the game. This deck, the decay deck on the bottom, revelation deck on top, masquerade deck on top. You're going to set up your player board just like this. You're going to have 4 minions and 8 money, and these areas represent different locations. The woods, let's see, the farm or the mountains or whatever they are. You can kind of go from the icons that you see with what matches on the cards from the board, but you are going to be buying different location or monsters and putting them on different locations on your player board. Over here you can see that this is the steps of the game. In the fortune phase, we're going to flip over these top 2 cards, and we're going to see if they match or not, depending if we do the top of the card or the bottom of the card. Then we're going to go to the preparation phase, which is if you have any cards like spell cards or anything, then you can perform the actions before at this phase. Minion phase is placing your minions on these worker placement areas on the board, which represent these circles. And I'll go over what each of these represent and mean here in a little bit. Resolution is you're going to do what those minions do at that location and execute that action. The foreman phase is if you bought any of these buildings, you're going to be able to build them. The adventurer phase is when these adventurers will come and fight us depending on who they are looking for. There's certain icons on those cards that they will go after. The production phase is once you have things like these buildings or these monsters that will start producing things, then you will get those things. Then the end of turn is resetting the board just for the next round. So in the fortune phase, you will turn over these top 2 cards, and you're going to look at what type of cards they are at this icon here. You're going to see also if it has the Arcana symbol. So if you have the same or one of the cards is this symbol here, then you're going to do what the top says. If not, you're going to do what the bottom says. So right now, these are different. We're going to put them right here, and we are currently going to do what the bottom says. So if paired with a different suit in turn order, players may immediately purchase 3 workers for 1 coin or 6 workers for 2 coins. So definitely I will do that. And I forgot to say at the beginning of the game, you're actually going to start with 2 elements. And it's important to know the difference between elements and resources. So these are the elements here, and these are the resources here. And at the beginning of the game, you are going to be able to choose 3 spells of any type that you would like. So I'm going to take this one, and let's do this one. And you can see maybe a little bit what these cards are. You can perform these cards on this action, so it'll show in the top right when you can use those. This is take 3 stone from the supply. Awesome. Take 2 metal from the supply. So after I get my spell cards here, now I can see what the cost is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the game with 2 earth as my elements, and that way I can exchange them in and get some different resources by using these spells. This one's going to let me attack any tile of another player's domain board with 2d8, and I would have to use a point and 2 fire elements to do that, so that's maybe something later in the game that I can use. But anyways, I'm going to start with these 2 earth and these 3 spell cards, and everyone gets to do that. So back to the fortune phase. In the fortune phase, so I'm going to pay 2 coins to get 6 workers, and I will do that because the workers is a type of resource. It always will almost take a worker to build any of these buildings. If you look at the costs on the bottom of them, the workers is the orange icon there. Almost all of them have it. The only one that maybe doesn't, this graveyard doesn't, and this library doesn't, but everything else does. So that's what I'm going to do. And this card says each player must pay 1 coin for each minion they wish to use this turn. Pay when it would be resolved in the resolution phase. Any minion not paid for is removed for no effect. Ooh, so we're going to have enough money to be able to pay our minions. So we have 4 of them, so at least 4 money. So now we are going to go to this preparation phase, and none of my cards have anything to do in this phase, so I wouldn't be able to, but maybe someone had a card that they could play right now, a spell card, or maybe a henchman later on in the game. Now we're going to go to the minion phase. In the minion phase, you're going to be placing your minions. When you place it here on the first area here, this is the seer, you're going to be able to look at the fortune deck. You're going to take the top 3 cards, look at them, and know what's going to come in the future and rearrange them the way that you want them and put them back on the deck. So that can change what the future holds. If you go to the business district, you're going to get 2 money. If you go to the Temple of the Black Cult, you're going to get 2 evil points. The Assassin's Guild here is you're going to pay 12 money or 6 points, either or. You can exchange them. So 1 evil point is worth 2 money, and you're going to be able to attack any player's minion, henchman card, or one of the adventurers. So you can, if you really want to go after someone or something to change things, it's really expensive to do so, but it's a sure thing. You know, you'll get rid of it. Over here's the street thug, and you will pay 2 money to go here, and what you're going to do is roll a dice, and I believe it's a D6, and on a 1 or 2 they succeed, but if it's a 3, 4, 5, or 6, then they don't. And as you see, we're following the road, and so when we execute our actions, we will go in this order, and that's why I'm following it this way. Here is the Architects Guild. You're going to be able to build any of these buildings that you're going to go on. The cost is on the bottom. What it's going to produce is on the left side here, and what it's going to produce on the dark side, which I'll explain when you flip this over, is on the right side. And so you can see in the future that when these are all turned to the dark, they're going to be getting you these evil points, and that's kind of the goal of the game. And you can see some do better than others. Some of these costs are different than, you know, what you might think. Their payout. So you need to be able to understand what you might want, but also knowing that these all have an icon on them. They're going to attract different adventurers, and I'll explain it when we get up there, to come and visit your town if they're white, or to attack your town if you flipped it over to black. So those are all those. Here you are going to take these henchman cards. So this one, for example, if you go here, you're going to take it. This is a way to get points later in the game. So if you have more dark buildings than light buildings, then you may convert 5 money to 2 points. And you can do that up to 5 times. So that's a way to get a lot of money and exchange it for points. And this all happens in, it looks like, the production phase, these cards. This one is take from the stock any one element. So every turn, if you have this henchman, he's going to be getting you an element. Here is a big circle, meaning any number of players can go here, and you're going to be able to get resources. So you're going to pay money to get either 2 wood, so 1 money for 2 wood, 1 money for 1 stone, 1 money for 2 workers, or 2 money for a metal. And you can do as many different interactions of buying any of this stuff with just 1 minion being here. Here you're going to get your elements. So this is 2 water, 2 fire, 2 wind, and 2 earth. Here you are going to get some more spell cards. You'll get 3 cards of your choice. There's 2 areas to go to. Up here, you're going to take one of these adventurers and discard them. Not the leader, you cannot discard the leader, but this is a way to plan for the future, because I still haven't covered this, but I'll explain how these guys attack here in the future, and you'll know why this might be important. And then this is the same thing, but with this party over here. Here you're going to get this mercenary, which is a tile that you can add on to any of your place, even if you have a monster there. So normally you can only have 1 monster on a location, but this guy can be added on, and his defense is a D10 here. So if you get attacked, you get to roll a D10 to defend with this guy. All right, and then we're going to go across the water here. Here's the far lands. These are henchman cards, you just don't know what they are, so they're face down. So they could be really good, you just don't know what they are, so you can kind of get them blindly. These areas are to buy these monsters, and these monsters are going to help you defend from these adventurers or other players. And so their defense is in the top right, what they are going to produce is in the bottom left, and what they cost is in the bottom right. And so there's different prices on those. Some are different from others. So these are going to produce points, but this one's going to produce a fire element each time, and this one's it helps you defend a lot better. It's more expensive, but you can also, while you defend, use a fire element to roll a D10, and you can do that as many times as you want, as long as you have fire elements to do so. So this guy's more expensive. He's not going to get you points, but he is definitely going to help you defend. And so you need to change your strategy to know which monster you want. Are you going after points, or are you defending your building so that it can make points? Whatever you're doing there. You're going to follow up here. You're going to take the first player marker and get 2 money. And then at the royal court, you, next turn, are going to have an extra minion. And so you will use this, and this token or pawn here lets you know that everyone know that you are in control of the white guy. So that's another way to do something more next turn if you don't know what you want to do this turn. So everyone's going to, you're going to take place 1, the next player will take theirs, and, do that until you have all your minions placed. Once you have all your minions placed, you're going to do the resolution of all these actions following along this path in the same order. You're going to say, where's the minion? Okay, we'll do that, we'll do this, You'll go in that order and do all of that. So the foreman is when you say have the building. So once you have a building, you can keep it. You don't have to build it this round. You can keep it and build it later if you want. Once you take it from this area, you're going to be place it just next to your player area. But in this time, you're going to use these resources to build it and put it on your player board. So this is kind of important. Some of these places you'll see have restrictions. So the woods here has to be placed in the trees on your board right there. And it has a defense of 6, so not well defended. The farm doesn't have any restrictions. It can go anywhere on your board. It has a defense of 1, so it's very weak, but it will get you, money and later on possibly fire and evil points. You're going to place them somewhere on your board. So say I had this one and I paid my resources, and I'm going to put it here. Everyone's going to build whatever they want. Now it's important to know where you're putting them on your board, and I'm sorry I haven't explained this, but I will here when we get to the adventure phase, because that's what's important to pay attention to. The adventure phase happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the leader of each party. So we'll start here with this thief. You will notice that each card has 2 icons. This party, they're all going to attack whatever the leader wants to attack, which is this, and then if this is a tie or no one has this, this is the secondary thing right here. You're going to look at this symbol, and if you look on your player board, you're going to see this symbol. And you're going to say, okay, does any players have a location in that area? And, if someone does, that thief is going to go to that area. Now, these adventurers only attack if they are black. So if you've flipped them over. I didn't really explain that, but with your minions on the minion phase, after you've gotten these, instead of placing on the board, to be able to flip it over, you can place a minion on the white area or on a white building on your player board to be able to flip it when you do the resolution. And that way it'll switch what it's producing. So instead of producing money, this one's going to produce points. But this thief is going to go after anyone that has a building in this area on their board. If no one has a black building of that sort, then it's going to go and see if there is anyone that has a magic building. So, for example, this library has this magic sign. So if someone had this built and had it flipped over, then it's going to come after that building. It's coming after that thing right there. This is why this game is so important to prepare, because these are going to move over after this guy goes off. So we know the next 4 rounds, essentially, it can get manipulated by people going here and certain things and certain spells and stuff. But you have to plan to see where you want to put your buildings and at what time, and when you want to flip them from making your money into points at a certain time that it makes sense, so that it doesn't ruin you. If there are no black buildings of the 2, then he's going to go and visit and do a pilgrimage to a white city of whatever type that is here. If no one has that one, then he'll go to this one and do the pilgrimage. When they do the pilgrimage, whoever they will go, the tiebreakers, of course, is there's numbers on these cards, but they will go to a white city. They won't attack it. They will actually give you 1 money, and they will come visit you. So maybe that is a strategy to do, is to be able to draw them to your white cities and have them visit you. But also be aware that they will change, and maybe they will, when you flip them over to black, come and start attacking you. But maybe you want them to come attack you, because if you defend and you beat them, then you get evil points. And so that's another way to generate points, is to be able to defend from these guys. You can look at what their dice is. So this is a D12, a D8, another D8, and a D10. So you're going to roll, say they were attacking. So if they were attacking, you're going to take these dice and you're going to roll it. And who knows what their attack is? Let's see, that's 22 plus 9. So pretty high right there, 31. So I would need to have a place defended. If you look at my keep right here, it's only at a 10. So I wouldn't, even if I had another monster, say I had this monster on there, that's 19. So when you do defend from them, you need to be prepared. Maybe come get this mercenary to help you out. or, do something that's going to help you. Some of these henchmen's cards will help you. These spell cards, after they go, this leader will get discarded and they will move down. And then this party will go. And of course, this rogue is going to go after any religious buildings. So whoever has the most religious buildings. If not, oh look, they're going to the same area. It might even be the same place. But they're going after anyone who has buildings in this area of their player board. They're going to attack or pilgrimage. If they don't do either of those, they're not going to do anything. They're going to get discarded. These are going to switch down. Remember, you can plan. Look at all this that you can plan. Do you want to put it in the mountains for later? Do you want that library? Because down here, this sorceress might want to come attack you. If no one has the tiebreaker of this, do you want to put that building in your woods area on your board? This ranger's going to be coming up here in 4 rounds. Anyways, you need a plan. That's the most important thing. After the adventure phase, then we have our production phase. So you're going to go back to your player board. My keep is going to get me 3 money. I'm going to take 3 money. If I bought, say a monster, I had him up here on my board, then he's going to give me an evil point. Awesome. And then after that, we're going to do the end of turn, which is going to reset these. You're going to put all these building cards back. You're going to put all the henchmen's. If these are gone, these will get turned up and come over here. If they're gone, you're just going to get new ones. Then these are leaders have gone. These are going to move up. You're going to get a new card to plan of who's coming. This one as well. Get a new one. We'll get 2 new henchman cards that we're not sure about over here in the far lands. If there's any monster tiles that have been bought, we're going to fill those back in. And we are going to start again with whoever is the first player again. So then we're going to go through this. We're going to keep on doing that until that death card shows up. When that death card, let me show you where it is. Okay, so it is actually the second from the bottom. So when that does show up, then that's the last turn. So the game's going to end. You're going to have one last time to try to do whatever you can to get the most points, and you're going to count points at the end, and whoever has the most evil points is going to win the game. So in my experience in playing this game, it's important to know that it is not super smooth with how maybe you want things to go. Things are going to surprise you. Your spell cards, maybe one of them is going to work and do super awesome to give you something, but you're going to maybe have a hand of cards that aren't going to be so great, or they're not as good as others. These henchman cards as well, some of them are going to, do something for whatever your situation is that is really good, but other ones might not feel as good. And so when you go and get these ones that are face down, you might get something amazingly good, but you might have a card that doesn't really do much for you. So you need to be aware of how to swing things in your favor. Same with these buildings. There are cards that cost more and give out the same amount of points if you flip them over. Well, maybe you don't want to buy that type of card and want to go wait until there's something like this bog that's going to give you the same amount of points, but it's only going to cost 2 resources. Whatever type of engine you have building with what resources you're getting, you need to figure out what the best is for you. Being the first player, yeah, that's important because you're going to have first dibs at the henchman cards or the building cards, or sometimes there's a super awesome card that will come up here. So, for example, maybe it's the end of the game and this graveyard comes out and you're thinking, well, look at it, that's easy to build. I can flip it and get 3 points super quick. If you're the first player, you're going to have first dibs at it, where if the other buildings aren't as good or you don't have the resources to build them, then you're not going to be able to do it. So it's important to be able to fit your situation with certain things, but it's going to be unbalanced. There's going to be things that happen you don't want it to happen. Players are going to spend these spells and attack you sometimes, and maybe you're not expecting that. When they do that, they don't get any points. They're just straight up attacking you to make it harder for you. So after I played this, I talked with Jeff, And, we kind of talked about how he made the game. His methodology, he said, is a rough methodology. It's not smooth. Not everything is going to be even, like these buildings. I said, well, this one costs way more, but it's going to give the same amount of points. And he said he did that on purpose. He didn't want it to be where you can calculate everything. He wanted it to be where at that time in the game, what is your best move? You need to make your calculation. And if, that building costs more, maybe it's not the best thing. Or, this is all about calculating for the future and figuring out what you need to prepare for. And maybe you do want them to attack you again. Maybe you don't. You are preparing. Maybe you need to keep your buildings white so that they don't attack your buildings, and maybe get some monsters here to get your points, and then later flip them. There's different strategies to be able to do well in this game. He wanted the game to be that roughish thing where you are trying to figure out the best way for what is presented to you. It's not going to be the same thing every time that you can just calculate it and do the same thing every single game, because you know how the game works and you can just calculate it all out. The style of the game definitely is a style that involves having the items and different situations that are not linear, like the cost and like the cards. So each turn there are opportunities to maximize your advantages as well. And so some of the buildings are slightly more cost effective than others, and monsters may outperform their base values, and spells may not succeed like you want them to, and things like that. But that is definitely planned, and be aware that if you're interested in that in this game, that the game plays like that. The game heavily rewards pre-planning. There's very far less of a benefit for instant or surprise defenses as well in the game. And so you need to prepare by defending your area, because players may attack you, or they might manipulate the adventurers up there and they might come after you. So you need to be prepared. One of the key items in the game is knowing when you should flip your white buildings over to the dark buildings. Getting the temple flipped over to provide you 6 points is going to be awesome, because that's a lot of points. But then you got to decide, can you safely do it? Are they going to come attack you, and then that building's going to come off your board? If they do succeed in an attack, it comes off your board and everything just gets discarded and removed. So you need to decide when the best time to flip those over to start generating those points, or do you need to just wait and get some more resources to be able to, say, buy some monsters? All of these buildings here, you can see a lot of them give you money. Well, all these monsters cost money, so you could just keep these white and just put these monsters in the countryside, not on top of the building. They're just wandering around. They'll generate your points. This will generate your money. You could totally do something like that. In this game, experience does pay off, and so anytime there is an experienced player playing with any new players, that experienced player is gonna do way so much better than those new players. But I think it is a great, fun game when everyone is at the same level. So after everyone understands and can plan and can understand what they need to do in the game, you are calculating. You don't know. Look at this. Look at these stacks of buildings here. I mean, who knows what buildings are going to come out? There's so many of them that there's no way you can calculate which ones are going to come out. Say you really like, certain, this castle, we'll say, it might not even come out this game, or these spells, maybe you have a favorite spell that you've grown to like while playing this game. It might not, show, or someone else might get it. Same with the henchman cards. I mean, there's not that many henchman cards that come out each turn, but look at how many there are. So you never know what cards are going to present you with opportunities to do well in the game. Anyways, this is Dark Domains by Laboratory H. If you like what you see, then go back it.